Starting with number 5, of course, is the Green Bay Packers. One thing before everyone says it, they did have an absolute stinker of a game down there in the shit city of Los Angeles in that soccer stadium, some like Dignity Health Stadium, some stupid shit like that. Fits 20K people, awesome. I'm sure 19,000 of them were Packers fans, but those Packers fans that were there in attendance only saw their team get thoroughly, well, maybe not thoroughly, but they did get fucked up, and it was really shocking. But also, it was
Yeah,
weird to see. It was final score of 26-11. Like, how many times do you see someone score 11 points? But
that's a
man,
that's a weird scoreline.
I looked at the score like in the first half. I was like, did like ESPN accidentally switch the logos for the teams? Because that score didn't look right. I was expecting the exact opposite. More power to the Chargers. Credit to where credit's due. This is they played like the team that they were supposed to play at the beginning of the season, and we'll see if they're actually able to keep that up. Um,
Yeah, they are playing tonight. We are recording on Thursday night, while the Raiders are currently playing the Chargers.
and beating the Chargers. With Jalen, Packer is still number 5, or do you think they drop out of top 5 after what they did last week?
Um, I would keep them there right now just because the other two teams that I would say deserve to be in the top five, I think they still have to prove a little bit something to me
Mm-hmm.
before I would move the Packers out. The Packers could have just been having a bad week, or the
Mm-hmm.
Chargers could have just been really having a good week. So
All right.
you never know.
Yeah, exactly. Man, but next is possibly a surprise to a lot of people. But number 4, as a team we mentioned earlier, the Patriots are only the fourth best team in the NFL, and I have a reason for that. You can get they are 8-1, which is a very respectable record, and but to be
Hmm.
honest, I only had them at the top or second place all those weeks is only because they were undefeated. But if we look at who they actually played, they've hardly played anyone good. Let me give you this, Jalen. So far this
Um,
season, um, the teams that New England has played have a combined 24-43 record. They've only played
ouch.
two teams with the winning record, and that is the Ravens and Bills. They beat the Bills earlier this season by a final score of 16-10 in the game that the Bills could have won, and they also just as we mentioned earlier recently lost to the Ravens by 17 points. But if we don't add those, so both those teams are 6-2. If we take away the winning teams that they've played, so they've played 9 games. They've only played 2 teams with a winning record. Those 7 other games that they've had, their opponents are only a combined 12-39. And
Mm.
what the fuck? This is what we mentioned earlier. They're playing a shit schedule. What are your thoughts, Jalen?
Yeah, no, definitely. The schedule's not looking tough for them. It hasn't at all. I think the Ravens were the first actual test they've had this season. They lost by 17 points.
The Bills, you could
Obviously,
argue the
we
Bills
can.
were a test, but the Ravens were a
Yeah,
legitimate test,
the
which they
Bills are
failed.
like the surprise team this year. I don't think anyone is expecting them to be. I'm pretty sure as of right now, they are the second best team, second best record in the AFC. I'm not sure if that still holds up this week. I know that was how it was last week. But I think the Ravens have been the first playoff ready team that they've played so far this season,
Hmm.
and they lost by 17 points. Obviously, we could be reading it into it too much. They could have just had a really bad week, as they say. It happens in sports. Sometimes you have a bad week,
Yeah,
but it's just based off what we had to go off of. They played really bad teams and they've dominated. And now they played a good team. They lose by 17 points, and it doesn't look good for them because going into playoffs, you're not going to be playing those 0-8 teams. You're not going to be playing the Dolphins. You're not going to be playing the Jets. You're going to be playing people like the Ravens.
hmm,
So I think they need to prove against another playoff ready team that they
yep,
can still compete
I
against high
agree.
level teams.
I agree. So looking ahead with the Ravens schedule are winnable games, but there are going to be some challenges. Up next, they pretty much have a second bye week when they play the Bengals. But
Hmm.
then they have the Texans, Rams, Niners, and Bills. So that's a solid 4 game stretch. After that, they close it out the season with the Jets, Browns, and Steelers, which all 3 of those games should be winnable. But this 4 game stretch is coming up where that's really going to determine their season, possibly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely believe they'll make playoffs just
Yes,
because of the division
at
they're
least
in.
a wild card, man. At
Um,
least a wild card.
yeah, they're definitely gonna make it. But I just I think that this losing this week is going to hurt because the fact that now you do have that tough
Mm-hmm.
4 game stretch coming up,
Yep.
and when you go in on a down, it's really hard to
Exactly.
get back up.
Momentum's a
I
real
think the
thing.
same thing's happening later with the Niners, but we'll talk about
Yep.
that when we get to.
Yes, we will. So, above the Patriots, we had the team we were just talking about, which is the Ravens. They're just playing really good football, like we've been talking about. They have a great offense, solid receiving core. Lamar Jackson's been playing great. He might even be up there in the MVP talks, if we're being honest. Uh,
Definitely.
their running game's been solid, with Lamar Jackson included. Lions playing solid football, and then over on the defense side, they're able to suffocate teams and keep on putting the ball back in Lamar Jackson in the offense's hand, and that's just really good complementary football. And that's how you win games, especially in the playoffs, as we were talking about too. They do legitimately look like a playoff rate team, and playoff rate teams are the ones that could run the ball and they could play defense, and that's what the Ravens are doing right now.
Yeah, definitely. The Ravens are definitely looking like a complete team on both sides of the ball, especially with the addition of Marcus Peters was beautiful on
Mm-hmm.
their side. I think that was
Big
a great
time.
acquisition by them. It's only going to push them to do better now that he's there. Defense looks great. Lamar Jackson definitely. I remember we had a conversation a couple podcasts back about who that third person would be in the MVP talks. I
We
think I
were
am ready to
saying
say
Lamar
Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson. Lamar Jackson would be my third right now, based off of just first off the amount of doubt that was thrown his way
Mm-hmm.
of just the like that he wasn't going to be able to perform where he did last year or better. I think that was disrespectful to say at the least
Yeah.
for the beginning of the season. And he's come out and he's ran the ball. He's proven he can throw the ball. He's proven that he's a good game manager. He can keep his team in the game. He's definitely shown that playing against a great defense, which I do think the Patriots defense is a good defense.
Yes.
I do think that
That
this week
defense
was
is
really
still for
bad for the
real.
Patriots. Yeah, I still think the Patriots defense, what they did, even if it was against losing teams, that was still very impressive what they did all the way until up until the game against the Ravens. And I think he tore them apart. He showed that he can run the ball and throw the ball in the same game. Like it's not just he doesn't just choose a game to do one thing. He does both whenever he can.
Exactly.
And I feel like I definitely throw him in the number 3 for MVP talks, and I would definitely put the Ravens in as number 3.
If we're talking MVP, he is not top three for me. He is number four, actually, because my top three in order is Russell Wilson, Christian McCaffrey, and Aaron Rodgers. But he's definitely right there at that number four spot. But moving on from the Ravens to the number two spot, we have the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are a big time team. They've been around the top three, just right behind the Niners and the Patriots for most of it. But now we're looking at a Saints team that for the first time since week two, they're going to have Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas all playing together. And this is big because they haven't played together since week two, but the Saints are still a 7-1 team. Imagine how good they're going to be with all three of those guys performing.
Definitely. I think they've been a complete team. They've been winning games without each of those 3 key players. I think at the beginning of the season, we thought those 3 players were going to have a big seasons for the team. And the fact that they've not played together since week 2 and they've still gone 7-1, I think is amazing. Um, they're definitely a complete team. Even with Teddy Bridgewater in, they were dominant. Even with Alvin Kamara out, they were dominant. And with Michael Thomas out, they were dominant. So I definitely see why they're at number 2. They're great on both sides of the ball. They keep the ball moving. They're electrifying offense. So definitely worthy of the number 2 rank.
Yep. Man, of course, that's just offensive side. But on defensive side of the ball, they are performing. They have a top five defense down there in the Bayou, and there's no sign of them slowing down right now. There
Not at all.
isn't. They are taking that NFC and they are running with it right now, and they're the team to beat in the NFC. Straight up. But
Definitely.
yeah, and that number one spot for this week, as you guys all could have guessed before we talked about this, that is indeed the San Francisco 49ers. They're playing solid football, even though a lot might argue that the same thing with the Patriots, that they haven't played that good of teams. They have been tested against the Rams, and they're going to have another big test this week on Monday Night Football against Seattle, and I believe that one is in Santa Clara, so that will help. But the 49ers are, um, you can't argue against them being the best team. Uh, they're A&O,
No.
solid offense.
Yep.
Jimmy Garoppolo is actually kind of pulling his own weight now, which is a big thing to see. And their defense is still playing lights out. Number one, number two, or number one defense in the league now.
Definitely. Um, I think that they got tested a little bit last week against the Cardinals. I think they got a little scared there. I think
Cardinals
they
almost came
tried.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that was a crazy game, and I don't think that was exposing the 49ers at all. I think the 49ers thought they could take a week off, and they got caught slipping, almost all the way. And like I was saying with the Patriots, they got tested by a team. I think the 49ers, they have the game against the Seahawks. And I think if they lose either this week against the Seahawks or the week after against the Cardinals, after that, they have a pretty tough schedule to finish out the season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do believe that they need to win the Cardinals game and the Seahawks game to finish off the season strong. Because, like I said, momentum, even though it is just like a non tangible thing, it means a lot.
As an
Losing a
athlete,
game
you can say that
can cause a
momentum.
lot.
I can say that momentum is real. It's a real thing.
Yeah, it's definitely very effective on the team. And if they lose a game against the Seattle Seahawks, or if they win against the
Big
Seahawks in a
divisional
close
game.
game, especially in a divisional game, that's going to be a big hit because first of all, the games against divisional rivals are usually a little bit more physical, so you have a better chance of someone getting hurt or
Mm-hmm.
just being a little bit more roughed up next week. So they have two in a row. So they're going to be playing the Seahawks this week and Cardinals next week. So I think if they lose either of these games, it's going to kind of kill the momentum that they have. And definitely, I think we're going to see them going negative down the stretch if they end up losing one or two of these next two games.
Yep. There is no doubt that these upcoming games are really big on their schedule. Might have really big playoff implications because I believe that the MC West um, division champ is going to be either the Niners or the Seahawks, and that is something that we'll cover here in a quick second. But so that's the top five. Couple teams I want to throw in there that are the first out. Seahawks and Chiefs are right there at 6 and 7, respectively. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it does put a damper on the Chiefs that their defense is still playing really suspect, and that Matt Moore. But they're still one of the top teams in the league, and the Seahawks.
Definitely.
Same thing with the Seahawks. Their offense has been amazing. Russell Wilson's on the MVP career path right now. He has 22 touchdown passes, only one interception, but the thing is, it's kind of like the Chiefs. Their defense is kind of shit. They gave up over 30 points to the Bucks. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't let the Bucks put up 30 on you.
Not at all. I don't think that you can do that and and be in the top five.
Yeah.
I think that both these teams are great offensive teams. Kind of iffy defenses on both sides. Even the Seattle defense, I would say, is slightly iffy sometimes. I would say they're very inconsistent or inconsistent. My bad.
Yep. That's a good
But
way to put it. You're putting it
I
nicely.
think that their defense is inconsistent, even though when they do decide to play, they're a pretty dominant defense. Chief defense is just suspect all around.
Yep.
I think they need to address that. My problem with the Seahawks is since their defense is so inconsistent, I feel like their offensive wise, Russell Wilson saves them a lot.
Yeah,
I feel
well,
like
that's
if
how it
Russell
has been
Wilson
for the
goes,
past few seasons. Russell Wilson's
yeah,
just been making these
feel like
stupid, really, just ridiculous plays. You know?
exactly. And I feel like if Russell Wilson goes down injured, or if Russell Wilson decides he doesn't want to play for the Seahawks anymore, or in the future when Russell Wilson retires, I think there's a lot of holes on that offense that have not been addressed that can come back to hurt the Seahawks if they don't address it. The offensive line is at some points is abysmal. Their run game is dangerous because of the fact that you have to respect Russell in the run and pass game,
Hmm.
and so that tends
Play
to
action
open up a
works
lot of
well.
exactly. It tends to open up a lot of running lanes for those running backs who also, in my opinion, are benefiting from Russell Wilson. It's just I think that there's a lot of holes on this team that Russell Wilson continues to block because of how good he's been playing. And I feel like they need to address them either with free agents or in the off season.
Might have to look
Obviously,
into
this
the
season they'll
draft.
be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think obviously this year they're going to be fine.
yep.
I don't see Russell Wilson anything happening to him unless
They just
it's
got to
injury
rebuild the
wise.
Legion. Boom
Uh,
is a thing.
yeah, but I don't see anything happening to him anytime soon. I feel like he keeps himself safe. He doesn't take too many big hits, so I really don't see him getting injured.
Nope.
If he does,
They're
that's
fucked.
when it comes down to they need to be a better team.